What a wonderful day to be alive. The sun, the fellowship, all of us gathered here and on the airways of Zoom as well. Welcome. I am Bob Alto, your worship associate, and I'm looking forward to sharing this special service with you. If you are new to us, know that we welcome you. We do not create barriers, we open doors. So it doesn't matter what your identity is, your age, your economic circumstances, your immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. We welcome you, reminding us all our mission here at UUFNN is to grow together in faith, love, justice, and joy. We welcome newcomers, and you will find online a newcomer form if you'd like to receive further information from the congregation. Note there will not be a formal offertory time during the service today, but we do absolutely welcome your offering and will collect them. Those of us at the fellowship can leave your contribution or pledge in whatever amount you desire in the receptacles provided. Those of you on Zoom, of course, can text your offering as usual to 73256. That's 73256. Or you can mail a check to the office. Each month we give folks the opportunity to share with a designated nonprofit. And this month, it's the Washoe Casa organization, which serves youth in foster care system through a system of structure and volunteers. They make sure that a child's rights are protected. And you can read more about this wonderful organization in the newsletter. We want to remind you that we've talked about it over and over again, protocol for COVID, and remember, we're still in the elbow bump stage and not the hugging stage, unfortunately. And we'd like to also make a note that we would like high-quality masks in our services, and we will start handing those out next week, but just be mindful that a high-quality mask is required. Those of you on Zoom will be muted during the service, but you can put your comments in the chat box. You can also stay on following the service for coffee time conversations. Folks on Zoom, again, you can opt to go into the coffee hour, and may you do so.
It is a delight to welcome you into this community space together today, whether joining us on Zoom or here in this room. Today is our annual kickoff of our stewardship effort. Our Chalice is Afire. It's an invitation and an opportunity to take stock of who we are together as community, to think of those things that we love and that we're grateful for, and what an opportunity that we have just in our strength of being together. I'm grateful for this opportunity today to celebrate what it means to be a part of UUFNN, and I hope that you are too. Bob Alto will light our chalice for us this morning, and our chalice lighting words are from Starhawk, who passed just a short time ago. We're all longing for home, a place we can only glimpse from time to time, community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us, eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength. Strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing. A circle of friends. Someplace where we can be free and find hope. Our opening song this morning is "We Shall Be Known." I'm going to ask you to pay particular attention to the words of the song.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.
We have the wonderful opportunity this morning to hear from a few folks about what our beloved community means to them. First, we'll hear from Jennifer Cullison on Zoom, and then following a musical refrain, we'll hear from Bill and Beth Isaiah and Sophie Moeller. I invite you to listen with your hearts.
Hi, everybody. My name's Jennifer Cullison. I have been part of this fellowship since fall of 2019, when my son Kaio and I moved here so that I could take a position as a postdoctoral teaching fellow at UNR. I was a very active UU youth in the 1980s and the early 1990s in the San Francisco Bay Area. But since my early 20s, my connection to the UU faith has been sporadic. Arriving here, where we knew exactly 0 people, though I knew in 2019 that it was time to find community again among UUs. And as it turned out, there were so many reasons to do this. Today, I want to talk about 2 of the biggest ones. First, not long after attending my first service, some lucky people here had a chance to go to the Arizona-Mexico border to learn about migrant justice issues. I had already been down to the Texas-Mexico borderland several times for my dissertation research, but still, had circumstances been a little different, I would have tagged along. I arrived in Reno itching to find new ways to fight against xenophobic immigration policy in the US. It became clear pretty quickly that there was a core of people here, what became the Borderlands Justice Team, that would be interested in finding a way to leverage the passion and the skill between us to do that. Soon enough, we were working on our letter writing campaign and our oral history project on undocumented immigrants in Nevada. With the help of the UUFNN and the BJT, I've been so glad to lead the university side of the oral history project, and then to make connections to many of Nevada's community organizations like WAX and Plan and Make the Road. Together, we've built bridges between UUFNN, academia, and social justice. And not only is the Rio Project, which is the oral history project, amplifying the voice of the undocumented people who are sharing their stories with us, but with the project, I'm mentoring and training several undergraduate and graduate students as paid researchers and volunteers. And they are learning skills and making a difference in ways that just wouldn't have happened without the vision, the passion, and the special collection donations of the project, for the project by this fellowship. And so about that second thing, I could never really have known in fall of 2019 that within just 2 years, the UUFNN was going to be so important to my life in Reno in another important way. Okay, so in June last year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, as most of you know. Though California friends and family came to my side through the core of the journey around the time of the surgery, I owe so many thanks to the UUFNN Caring Committee and the friends I've made here to get me the rest of the way. I felt a big spiritual hug around me through this time. As fellowship friends brought Kaio on adventures, tutored him, sent me cards, checked in on me, brought me meals, visited, took over the prescribed lifting, picked up and put away groceries, brought out the trash, shared cancer stories and advice, and stood by me at scary appointments, and otherwise reminded me that I was certainly not alone. Indeed, we are not alone, but a community of people who also hold up our fellowship roof and activities with a stewardship program. Today, I make my 3rd annual pledge to do my part, and I hope you will too. Because today, nearly 5 months since the drama of cancer surgery and over 2 years since we created the BJT, I feel so lucky that I landed here with all of you to run with you towards social justice goals and to rest knowing that we care deeply about the world we live in, as well as each other.
to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Good morning, everyone, here and on Zoom. My name is Bill Isaiah. My first introduction to UU came in the summer of 1964 when I was living and working in Washington, D.C. for then United States Senator Alan Bible. I had an aunt and uncle who lived in Richmond, Virginia, and I often would visit them on the weekends. As a result, I sometimes went with them to the First Unitarian Church of Richmond, where my Aunt Candy was very active. In fact, she later led building the whole new church for them. I liked what I heard there and the people that I met there. Pretty much the same thing that I hear over and over again about this place we call our religious home. When Beth and I were married in 1968, we continued the practice of going to Richmond to visit family and attend the UU church there. Upon our return to Reno in the fall of 1971, we wondered if there was a UU congregation here. And we found the Unitarian Fellowship of Reno, as it was then called. We signed our membership cards on January 2, 1972, 50 years ago this month. And we've been members ever since. Dave Bianchi was the president at the time, and it just happened that he knew my Aunt Candy because he and Lois frequently visited the Richmond church while he was stationed in the Army at Fort Lee, Virginia. Small world, huh? When we joined the fellowship, and for a long time thereafter, we were mostly a lay-led group, with occasional short visits from UU ministers from around the country. As a consequence, there were many opportunities to serve the fellowship and ensure that it would continue to be a place where good, open-minded people could gather together and share a spiritual experience in ways that were meaningful to them. I have been president of the fellowship twice. I have served on various committees such as Legacy, Nominating, Finance, Worship, and Caring. I'm currently your parliamentarian for our business meetings. Taking on these roles over the past 50 years introduced me to some really wonderful people. Unfortunately, some of them have passed now. To new ideas and to a greater appreciation of our 7 principles, not only within the fellowship itself, but to the wider world as well. I took on the responsibilities of these various tasks, not only because I enjoyed the work they required of me, but because I believed that I and the people that I were serving with were laying a foundation that would lead to where our fellowship is today and where it can be tomorrow. I've always thought it was critically important for liberal religion that there be a UU fellowship in Reno, not just for those of us here now, but for those who will follow us in years to come. Today, fortunately, We now enjoy professional leadership as such as the wonderful Reverend Karen and others who make our present and future look so promising. In order to keep it so, Beth and I are pleased to make our 2022-23 pledge today, and we urge you to do so also. Thank you very much.
I can now tear up half of what I've written. We wrote things separately. Mine is actually entitled How We Got Here, and a rambling history with personal recollections. When we had first joined the fellowship, it was a small liberal outpost in northern Nevada with visiting ministers on occasion. The members led most of the services. We took summers off and never passed a collection plate. A large contingent of members were university professors. The fellowship left the YWCA and moved to the basement of the Center for Religion and Life, now the Newman Center next to Our Lady of Wisdom on North Virginia Street across from the university. We were glad to be away from the tumbling children at the YWCA. We had a bigger room and smaller rooms for religious education. We also had an upright orange piano, which could never be tuned, and neither could we. For years, on Sunday morning, we sang "Morning Has Broken" because it was the only one that we were good at. We are now, Bill and I are now so grateful for our pianist, our choir, a choir director. It's just wonderful, the music that we enjoy now. At the center, I began doing the newsletter and teaching RE. The newsletter had to be typed on a special paper that was then run through a Gestetner machine. For those of you not familiar with a Gestetner machine, it looks sort of like a medieval drum. The typed newsletter has serrated edges on each end, is fastened to the drum, inked and turned by hand until you have the number of copies you want. I would then fold, staple, stamp, and go to the post office with each month's news. This went on for several years. The fellowship had been in the basement at the Center for Religion and Life, and we moved upstairs, and it was very, very good. One year, I remember that we had a costumed Halloween party. Fred Peterson, one of our members, came draped in a sheet holding a camping lantern in front of him. He was Diogenes searching for an honest man. Betty Hulse was wearing a very nice dress she had made, but it was covered in 3x5 cards. When looked at closely, you realize she had come as the Dewey Decimal System. So we, even though we had joined earlier, we knew we were in the right group. The fellowship could have happily stayed at the Center for Religion and Life until the Catholics got a new bishop. He was not ecumenical. Our lease was not renewed, and we were kicked out. In retrospect, it was the best thing that could have happened to the fellowship. We had to find a place to meet, so Bill's mother and grandmother arranged for us to meet at the offices of the Tom Sawyer Senior Housing. We were cramped. Lois Bianchi was teaching RE outdoors in good weather and in the kitchen in bad. We couldn't stay there too long. There were too many of us. So we went for one dreadful month to a theater that was dark, dirty, cold, and painted black on the inside. That really did it. We needed a place of our own. We looked at various buildings and land, but none were right until one day, standing in a field, avoiding stepping on cow pies, we voted to buy this land. The freeway was coming south, and we hoped to buy a house and put it on the land. We were outbid on every one. Then a woman called to say she'd bought a house for her grown children, but they didn't want it. She'd heard a church was interested and sold it to us for what she had paid, $1,000. It then took $10,000 to move the house to the south end of our lot. Bill and I, along with many others, chipped brick off the outside and painted the inside. What is now our RE Forum and Office building was our first very own building. We outgrew it on Dedication Sunday. We knew we were having to plan for a bigger building. During all this time, the fellowship kept growing, and Bill and I served in many positions: RE teacher, RE chair, board member, board president, Chalice Circle member and facilitator, and on my part, for many years, unofficial recycler. We didn't have recycling at our property from Waste Management, so I took all the empty wine bottles home, rinsed them, and put them out at the curb in the little green and yellow bins Waste Management had at the time, because we had many dinners and many parties, and our social life, along with our spiritual life, was really good. But luckily, the neighbors never said anything about all those wine bottles. In 1980, I attended the Unitarian Universalist Leadership School in Alamo, California. It was a life-changing week and brought about the transformation I had expected but not received when I was baptized at the age of 13 at the First Christian Church on Plumas Avenue, which is now a Buddhist church that is led by Matt and Shelley Fisher, who were members of this fellowship. When I was at leadership school, we studied denominational history, we wrote daily credos, we learned how to work in committees, and created daily worship services. It was during a service on art and worship, the goal being to produce a work of art, that I was chosen to become that work of art. They had me lie down on a big sheet of paper, outlined my body, and the other attendants of leadership school wrote around that what I would become. It was truly life-changing. When I came back to Reno, I was like the Energizer Bunny, and I led workshops, I edited the leadership school newsletter, I drove all over the Pacific Central District of Northern California. All that energy couldn't last. I leveled out after about a year and a half, and Bill was thankful. In 1982, I was selected as Minister for Marriage for this fellowship because we still did not have a permanent full-time minister. For 12 years, I performed weddings, ceremonies of Holy Union, memorial services, and dedications of children. I performed 100 ceremonies. Bill and I have attended 5 General Assemblies, 2 in Salt Lake City, 2 in Portland, Oregon, and 1 in Calgary, Alberta. All were exciting, exhausting, and sparked a deeper renewal of our faith. When we have traveled, we try to attend UU churches whenever we can. We have been to Richmond, Virginia, Williamsburg, Virginia, Boston, Charleston, South Carolina, which has the oldest UU church in the South, 2 churches in Florida, and Philadelphia, where the minister, Nate Walker, was the grandson of a member of UUFNN. We had remembered him when he was a teenager. But in all our travels, no fellowship is as welcoming and friendly as this one. On a wonderful trip to London, we attended Roslyn Hill Chapel, Unitarian, on January 6th, 1991, with a few friends from fellowship. Jim and Betty Hulse were in London while Jim was on sabbatical. Their daughter Jane and husband Dave were visiting, while Bill and I were part of a tour led by Jim McCormick, accompanied by the lovely Loretta, his wife. As a side note, I had married Jane and Dave with the aid of Betty's twin sister Nancy, a UU minister, and I had married Jim and Loretta with the assistance of Jim Hulse. Thank you, dear. As the fellowship kept growing, we were served by a variety of ministers for varying lengths of time. All of them contributed to our growth and service to the community, but Bob Hadley, our minister on loan for 6 weeks in the early 70s, was the one who really got us started. We remember him fondly. Other members of fellowship have been and are our mentors and friends who have enriched our lives beyond measure. My personal religious beliefs have changed over time, but the openness and inclusiveness of this fellowship have made staying a natural choice. When we were bursting at the seams in the South Building, we began planning for this building. We moved to Swope Middle School and met in the cafeteria. We had a thermometer money sign showing how far we were with fundraising. A new couple joined us, took a look at our size and another look at the fundraising sign and thought, they're never going to make it. But we did. We have set goals and achieved them for over 60 years as an active outpost of liberal religion in northern Nevada. Years ago, when we had been members of fellowship for about 10 years or so, a new couple joined and were told by an older member that they remembered when the Isaiahs were the young ones. We are no longer the young ones, but we have gladly given our time and pledges to this fellowship for 50 years, and we're not stopping. Join us.
Hi, hello. So my name is Sophie, and I am an alcoholic. After almost 7 years of sobriety, this is the first time, and I might get emotional, that I have ever said that to a room or a Zoom of people. So, thank you. Now, it may seem like I got my venues mixed up to share my story today, but this is the place where we are able to share every piece of ourselves bravely, safely, and uncensored, right? Right. Oh, yeah. So 6 years and 10 months ago, I was seeking new tactics to help me sustain a sober lifestyle. I will spare you the details of why. There are other venues for that. But I did have a history of spotty attendance in AA and therefore spotty attendance with sobriety. So for 6 years and 10 months, I never once had the courage to speak or share who I really was in those rooms. Sure, I have shared with groups I am in recovery or that I am sober. I even run a women's sober group. But and I worked in recovery for many years, but I never had that courage. In the realm of recovery and sobriety, AA is much like the Christianity of religion, right? So there's the big book, kind of like a Bible that we follow. There's principles, there's those steps, those 12 steps, and an extremely devout group of followers. When I first attended, I was pretty closed. I was pretty focused on the sexism of the big book, of the old-fashioned, ness of the group, of maybe some dated philosophies. And I had a pretty huge fear of maybe being accused of being in denial if I questioned any of these methods. Now, I want to say I have grown to have a fond respect of AA, just like we can coexist in spirituality with having a respect for others who have maybe some different beliefs than we do, right? So sorry, these are my handwritten, terrible. AA has been a lifesaver for so many, including my fiance, who is sober for 12 years. Yeah, he deserves a clap for sure. And I am always happy to refer people to meetings and will even attend here and there on my own. But what works for one may not work for everyone. 6 years and 10 months ago, I showed up here, and actually back there, to a tofu dessert making class with JJ Lee. So JJ, who I hope is on Zoom today, has since become a mentor, a guide, and a dear, dear, dear friend. Without knowing at the time, she gave me permission to build my own recovery collage, one that was individualized to my own values, passions, and beliefs. I began attending services at the fellowship. And in my first service, I walked in, and the first song was Imagine, that the choir was singing, Imagine by the Beatles, and I knew this was my place. I had never attended a fellowship or a church or any spiritual venue that sang the Beatles, so that was really cool. The fellowship has become an essential piece of my recovery collage, and I credit this community for unknowingly being something that I can turn to in moments of celebration, struggle, and even moments of Zen when everything is okay. It's okay to show up when everything's okay. In the sense of your gifts and pledging, I remember showing up in probably one of those, first few months of sobriety, and I was really seeking spirituality. I wanted to be inspired every time I came here, and I wanted to go home feeling, I had more momentum and more motivation and more inspiration. And I remember I came, and it was one of these pledge services. And you may not remember, Karen, but I wrote an email afterwards because I didn't have much money. And I thought, oh no, the place that I'm valuing so much is now asking me for money, just like all those other places do. And here I am asking you for money. But this place, because Karen wrote me back, and I remember this so fondly, and she said, thank you so much for sharing your opinion. Do you want to talk to the board and maybe how we can ask more gently? And I kind of went, oh. What do I do with that? And I said, no, thank you. But the offer was there. And I thought, this place is different. They want to hear. They want to hear my voice. They see me. They want to hear, how we can grow and how we can have a growth mindset. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you all for providing a space where I can explore who I am. And I want to make a note that because of my recovery and sobriety, that I have this amazing fiance who I met through Reps for Recovery, shameless plug. We offer free workouts and to people who are seeking a sober lifestyle. It's a recovery gym. But we will be getting married here in June of 2022. So, your gifts not only provide that openness and a space for people to discover who they are and what we are, but also really just logically a place where maybe people who aren't financially, we'll say, extraordinary, although we're all extraordinary, right? But to have a place where we can celebrate and do that in a way that feels really good. So thank you for providing a space where I can explore who I am safely, bravely, and uncensored. My name is Sophie, and I am an alcoholic. Thank you.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time to lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
We shall be known by the company we keep, shall we not? We shall be known by the ones who circle round to tend these fires, that's you. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap, that's you. The seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It's time now. It's time that we thrive. It's time that we lead ourselves into the well. I think of that as our spiritual deepening that we call each other to and that we do together. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning that I believe is happening in our world, breaking open and birthing anew. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. UUFNN is so important to all of us. We tend the fires for each other. UUFNN is also very important to the great turning that is happening. Today, we have an opportunity to decide how we each will invest in tending the fires for each other and for changing our world, how we will invest in UUFNN's part in the great turning. It's a clarion call for this moment in time. The time is now, and we need all of us going forward together. I want to just take a moment and let you know just a couple of things. And one is that up to now, we have not been able to include our social justice efforts in the budget. You know, these are so much a part of who we are. The Reno Posse, our immigration efforts, and others ought to be in the budget so that they can function so much more effectively. Yep. We have not been able to do that, and that is a goal for this year. It's so much a part of who we are, and if everyone increased their pledge just a little bit and we had a few new pledgers, we would be off and running toward what is possible in that regard. So let's invest in this time together. Let's invest in this moment. Invest in a way that demonstrates that you are ready to be part of something significant, tending the fires, something transformative, something life-changing, taking our large part in the great turning. Are you with me? I want to address the question of how much to give. You know, we're encouraging everyone to seriously consider increasing your pledge. And if you've never pledged before, how much is the right amount? Here is how I encourage you to think of it. Give an amount that is meaningful to you, that you notice it, that is an investment, an amount that says, I am investing in the future of this congregation because I believe in who we are and what we can do together. Not out of the leftovers that you hardly notice, but something that is significant and meaningful. Give in a way that signifies that you're excited to be part of a community ready to step up and tend the fires and be part of the great turning. There are several ways that you can pledge today. You can go on your phone right now to UUFNN.org and you'll see a banner there on our website. You can click on that. It will take you to a pledge form, and you can do that right there on your phone or on your laptop at home. There's also a paper pledge form. If you're like me and you like to write it out and make sure it's right and do it like that, we have pledge forms. And in a moment, if you need a paper pledge form today, you can just raise your hand and we have those ready to be given out. You can also pledge from the email that came out recently. There's a link there to an online form, and you can fill that out online. I'm going to point out one little thing about our pledge form. It says that you can start for the fiscal year that begins July 1st, 2022, or you can choose a different time to start, which means if you're a new pledger, you can start it now. And that will only help this current fiscal year and the way that we end that year in June. So lots of opportunities for pledging. Going into today, before even the official kickoff of our Chalice Afire stewardship effort, we already have $57,000 pledged towards our goal. That includes 18 pledges, 2 of which are brand new, never pledged before, and half of those are increases over last year. This is a wonderful start. We are on our way. It's a great start. So in the next few minutes, you're welcome to complete a pledge on your phone. If you need a paper one, just raise your hand, and Chris is looking in the back. We can give you one. Beloveds, let's do this. Our chalice is afire.
Oh, it is us. Sorry. My bad. Let's do it again. Here we go. We got this.
Song of Aspiration by Gaia Brown. On each Sunday morning, our chalice of fire, we gather together, our hearts so inspired, a courage of seekers who take up the quest of living our values each day to the best. We care for each other through our days of gladness and grief. Together, we grow in love and faith and justice and joy. We're bending the arc of the universe to justice and peace. We're changing the world beyond belief with radical love. On each Sunday morning, our chalice of fire, we gather together, our hearts so inspired. This flame is a beacon to light up our way as we strive together to build a new way.
Thank you for being a community of immense generosity. If you have filled out a paper pledge form today, or if you brought one filled out, you're invited to bring it forward at this time. we enter into a few moments of community prayer and meditation. We remember today Thich Nhat Hanh, that great Buddhist spiritual giant and teacher of the masses. We hold in our hearts today Julie Solaria, whose sister's son passed away in the last few days. And we send our love out to Richard Savano and Janine Franklin, who lost their son-in-law unexpectedly in the last couple of weeks, and Richard is now being assisted by hospice care. I wanted to let you know that in light of the events that happened last weekend with the hostage crisis, at a synagogue, I reached out to Sarah and Benjamin Zober, my colleagues at Temple Sinai, to express our congregation's horror and outrage and solidarity with them during these days of such difficult and escalating, it seems, events. We send out our love and care to all of those today who are lonely, who are ill, who are afraid, who are depressed, who are struggling with addictions. And we hold in our hearts all of those celebrations and milestones, and we celebrate those together. We'll take a few moments to continue our meditation, and those who are in Zoom are welcome to record your prayers in the chat. We gather all of our prayers and meditations, those that we are able to put words to and those that are held in such deep places that we have no words. And we gather them all into the heart of love. And we close our meditation time with the gesture that has become our custom and tradition, perhaps as a way of saying, I will tend the fires to be here for you, and I know that you likewise tend them for me. Blessed be, and amen.
Stirrings of compassion.
in the congregation, but also to those of you on Zoom. Okay, I have to say, this is off topic, but who likes Pledge Sunday? Well, it turns out I do. This has been so inspirational. And I'm just so glad I had to get up and get dressed and even put on makeup to come today, because here, look, ha-ha. And I've increased my pledge. Okay. Anyway, again, my name is Valerie Cook, and I am a member of the Committee on Shared Ministry. And as many of you know, Reverend Karen is going on a mini sabbatical in February and March. And I've thought about that. I had some remarks prepared, but I left them at home. I do have a grocery list. I need organic Horizon milk, vitamin D, eggs, top ramen, grapes, yogurt, honey, and ketchup. Those are for my grandchildren. So anyhow, so if you want to just go shop, please do. No. Anyway, back to the wonderful, wonderful news that we have in our congregation to share, that we are in a position to allow and send on her way with great love Reverend Karen as she goes on a sabbatical for 8 weeks. Now, I looked up sabbatical, and it means, well, Sabbath, rest, right, day of rest, but it's mini, okay? It's short. It's only 8 weeks, for goodness sake. I'm just here to say I think she deserves it. And I think that we captured here today what we all should consider doing along with Reverend Karen as she goes on her sabbatical. We need to rest. We need to renew ourselves. We need to reflect. We need to refresh. We need to recharge. We need to reinvigorate. And then we need to return so that we can be the chalice of fire that we heard the wonderful congregants today and Reverend Karen talk about. So let's think about that for the next, February and March. Maybe it's time for all of us to do a little renewing and recharging and resting so we can come back together when Reverend Karen returns, feeling that we're ready to get to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us in today's service. You're always welcome in this place. Thank you so much for those who have made your commitment already. And for those of you who are still considering it, you know what to do. Please join, listen to the words carefully for our closing song, Fire of Commitment.
To face set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise future can begin. From the stories of our living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Beloveds, would you rise in body or spirit to receive the blessing? Beloveds, know that you are a significant spark in our ever-growing chalice that is a fire. May we burn ever more brightly together and change our world. Blessed be, amen, and namaste.
She's just gonna sneak off.